Welcome to Episode 2 of Nonprofit Navigators, a web series interviewing nonprofit stakeholders to discuss engagement and communication through digital media, with a focus on the challenges of a global pandemic. Today we're speaking with Antonio Ruiz and Stephanie Solton, the founders of ReGroup Foundation. ReGroup is creating healthy, supportive living environments for transitioning veterans and preventing the struggles that can come along with separation.
Hey everybody, this is Chris with Production 4 and Community Arts. Welcome back to Nonprofit Navigators. This is a web series interviewing nonprofit stakeholders to discuss engagement and communication in digital media with a focus on especially the challenges of this global pandemic. We're here today with ReGroup Foundation, with Antonio Ruiz, who is the National Executive Director of ReGroup, and Stephanie Solton, who is the National Development Director at ReGroup Foundation. And ReGroup is creating healthy, supporting living environments for transitioning vets and preventing the struggles that come along with separation. So thank you guys so much for being here. It's an unprecedented time. I know you have a lot on your plates, so thanks for carving out part of your day. I think you've had a lot to do today. I know the answers to some of these things. You know, we've known each other for a while and we're working together. I want for you to share with our audience, what was that moment in time that prompted the beginning of ReGroup Foundation?
I think both of us had two different pinnacle points at that point. Mine had to do with my exiting the military in 95, 96. Not having a proper way to transition correctly at that point was compared to what was happening back then, what's happening now is apples and oranges, where there's a lot more programs, a lot more things happening out there, but we're still not doing it to a standard that we're used to in the military. So there's a lot of fall off for the individual when they leave the service and look for direction with mentoring and things that are happening. It's getting better, but like once again, for us it was housing. For me, when I got out of service, I was used to having that location, which what brought me into the military, as a matter of fact. Being married with children young, housing was huge to put them into a place that was safe, sound, and an environment that would be healthy for them. And once I left the military, that was gone. That's pretty much my aspect on it. How about you?
Well, mine was having a son that went into the military because he didn't want to go to school. And he thought, I'll get in, do 4 years, be the equivalent of a college degree, get out with hands-on training. And about 3 years in, he discovered that was not going to be the case. And he was living paycheck to paycheck and was planning to move in with me, with his wife and 2 dogs. And I started talking to other military parents and found out that was pretty common with a lot of our veterans as they transition out, is they've got nothing or very little saved, and they're not used to budgeting for housing and budget for the deposits and the utilities, and they have none of that history. So they have to pay bigger deposits usually, and they can run out of $5,000-$6,000 just like that, just trying to get established. So that, and then just seeing he wasn't going to be able to find jobs very easily. He was going to have to go to school to prove he knew what he knew or what he had learned in the military. And so that was the biggest factor for me. But then also just being around Antonio and seeing him get the calls as a medic. A lot of veterans would reach out to him when they had someone going through substance abuse or addiction and contemplating suicides or whatever. And so he would get those calls, and so I would witness that, and we just decided it was time we did something about it.
There's a lot. There's a lot of people working really hard to make this mission. There's a lot of moving parts. So I think when we came with the idea and started speaking to the VA and other people and entities that have been doing this stuff for a long time, and working with the homeless event, that's what our initial goal was when we first started it, before we switched into prevention. And to do that, there's a lot of moving parts that need to happen in order to create the environment that we've been talking about for the last 5 years.
One of the things about making anything happen in this environment is spreading the word. So by you taking and spreading the word, if you don't have money to give, there's somebody in your chain that will be able to help out. So spreading our campaign on Facebook, social media sites, Twitter, all the things that will go out on, if you do that, it helps us out tremendously.
I want to talk for a minute about media and like how you communicate. So different nonprofits use media formats like digital or radio, TV, social media in different ways. Briefly, tell me like what's worked best for you guys?
Facebook.
Facebook.
Okay. Can you tell me why?
Well, we did a lot of videos starting out pretty early on, and I think it gave ReGroup personality, and it was easy to spread within the military community, and then it's just spread since then. It's been very successful for us, and it also for nonprofits, they make it incredibly easy to do fundraising, so we can get out there and put a mission or an objective, like we've got a situation where we've got a veteran that needs help, and we can put a short story about what's going on, and then people can take action right there and donate. And it makes it incredibly easy.
Yeah, I think finding funding as a young nonprofit is the hardest thing they will go through. Developing their volunteerism is the second thing, and once you get those two licked, they're pretty much moving in easy directions. The thing for us younger guys that got out of service before cell phones, computers, finding the individuals that you used to serve with, that's how do you do that? And Facebook's been incredible to help find individuals again, put them in the same unit chat rooms, and everyone's discussing on what the needs and helps are about other individuals. So that has allowed us to launch faster.
Well, and with just a hit of a button, they can share.
Exactly.
So that's the other piece that's makes it incredibly useful. You send out a flyer in the mail and it ends up on a desk and they're not going to share it. But through social media, you can put that same flyer out in a digital format and they can all share it. So it's the ease of it.
Yeah, I get it. Question, so you are a young nonprofit. Research suggests, and it depends on whose research you partake in, but research suggests that 30 to 50% of nonprofits fail. Why is ReGroup still around?
Stubborn.
We're hard-headed.
Fail.
No, the mission
Some call
really,
that determination.
yeah, the mission sells itself. I think people have been wanting something like this for a long time, but it's really hard. I mean, to find funding and have people stay engaged to develop a property that someone can stay with zero cost has been probably the tail chasing the tiger for some time. And we've developed a strategy, I think, that will work. We just have to get the first one built to prove it. And that's the game to it all, is finding the funding to get the first one built. I mean, we get a little money and we build, but a lot of times we have a lot of missions, and that eats up a lot of funding. And it's trying to balance that and make it fair in the game of life and what we're trying to do. And it's difficult sometimes, because you know that if we could get this built faster, we could help more. But how do you say no to that? Been told no 4 times in 1 week, and then you look at the suicides that we've been having. It's really hard to say no.
What is the most unexpected thing that's happened from some kind of communication or marketing or advertising endeavor? This can be positive or negative. Just something that totally surprised you. You did this, like, cool, that really worked well, or that didn't work at all.
Everything's had its own niche of working. It's funny because everybody that tunes into Facebook, everybody's different of what interests them. So we've been lucky that this incredible company that helped assist us in videography, they tend to develop some interesting work, and we've tried everything across the board, and it's really hit or miss. I mean, you have to be in a moment where everybody's jiving on one thing, that it launches really fast. Lady Luck is a huge part of that, I would say. But this COVID thing has been probably the biggest grass. It hogs up every single second of the day of people's information, even in the discussions and what we're talking about, in all the rooms. And it's incredible because I can go in there and I've got guys that have financial rooms that are big military guys that have been successful in finance and helping others, and rooms of builders to rooms of health people, and conversation is all COVID right now. So it's definitely hogging up the airwaves and not allowing. I mean, it's hard for me to. The military side of Antonio kicks in, and I keep thinking, okay, I get where we have to be responsible in what we're doing to try and do here, but what is where do we start grasping to get out of the hole and develop the new thinking that's going to create the better environment in post-COVID era? And I think everybody's still grasping for answer as what's happening financially, what's happening across the front with my health status, how is it affecting everybody? Why we have a few handful of people that are dying at such a young age, and everybody's been worried about the elderly. So that's all spinning around right now. So it's definitely been hogging up the airwaves.
You actually talked right into my next question, which is how is ReGroup pivoting based on that? Like, what do you think's what's next?
Well, it hasn't slowed the calls down of people needing help.
Mm-hmm.
It has halted donations. We've gotten, I think, 2 small regular donors that have donated in the past week or 2. All of our events, our fundraising events, have been canceled.
Those are huge. We had a huge dynamic happening this 2020 that was a lot of people on board to assist and help our movement in the city areas of San Antonio and our local area. Those going away the next 3 months is huge. We're trying to figure out, and we didn't just sit here and become reactive when the COVID thing started pushing into the outer states and the chatter on the military airwaves with our men and women. I said, Stephanie, we need to have a meeting and discuss what do we cut, what do we do, how do we proceed past this point, what will be the objectives during the next 2 to 3 months that keeps us solvent after this event. So definitely we've got a lot of project money that was already spent that we're working on now on construction, and once those gone, we'll cease and work on trying to stay solvent at this point. But volunteerism, how do you get people? We tried something the last was it Saturday we had a volunteer day and tried to work with how do you do this, because we have to get used to the social distancing in a volunteer environment. And Central Texas Food Bank, I mean, they just can't stop getting food and bringing it in. You have to develop the processes in order to be successful in this. And so, I mean, thanks, a lot of the stuff that we do is putting people in hotel rooms that are homeless at this point, since we don't have a housing location, but we do have to do construction out here, and volunteerism is the only way that this thing will be pulled off, whether it's funding to working together in an environment. So you have to have a safety person involved, watching, making sure everybody's keeping distance, and that takes one person out of the volunteer game that could be doing some heavy lifting on the project.
Yeah, but we had maybe 6 or 7 people show up.
Yep.
And got a little stressed out. They were chainsawing trees.
Yeah, they were glad to be outside.
Yeah, they were glad to be outside doing something they felt productive about. And it was kind of a work day, but it worked out well.
Let me ask you this. What would a $1 million donation do for ReGroup Foundation?
It would make us self-sustaining. We'd be able to
Describe
grow.
that.
So one of our way to ensure that ReGroup will be able to cover our own costs and help other nonprofits to do their mission is that we are developing a business model with agriculture to be able to grow food and sell it amongst the community here that will drive all our funding costs for the foundation and those that are involved with us.
Right. So $1 million would finish the resource center. So we had an office and meeting space.
We are now having a video conference in the office right now.
From the conference room.
From the
But it would finish that as well as pay for the construction of the aquaponics building, which then would be able to, as you said, pay for the housing. So I mean, it would be
rather than going to the well, to our bootstrappers that have been helping us, and I can't thank them enough to be out there donating their 5s and 10s and 20s or $10,000. We've had that finally happen. But the fact that we wouldn't be happy going that well to be pulling those dollars out of them and be able to be self-sustaining and making stuff happen, give money away. I am excited to do that.
Man, I'm excited for you guys too. I think so. What you're saying is, if someone stroked a check for $1 million, ReGroup would be able to become self-sustaining. You wouldn't have to continue to search for funding.
That's right.
correct.
And the idea,
outstanding.
And actually, it wouldn't just be self-sustaining. With the current business plan, the building, the 60 by 80 grow building, will generate about $2 million a year in produce and fish sales. And
Wow.
with that, not only would we be able to build the housing, but we would be able to support other nonprofits, veteran service nonprofits that are providing the services for the veterans that we're sending on the hunting trips or the counseling sessions or the resume writing sessions. So all those wonderful nonprofits out there doing work, we could actually even help support them and make donations to them using our funding stream.
and the it's a scalable business model. So not only would we be taking care of New Braunfels, San Antonio, Austin, I mean, we'd be doing Austin really big. We could be doing San Antonio really big. Then we're moving into other states. So these long lines we've been seeing at supermarkets during this pandemic, vegetables would not be a problem if we were able to do what we're supposed to be doing.
It's outstanding. I hope the right viewer sees this that can open the checkbook and stroke that check, or swipe a card, or Venmo you $1 million, however that happens.
Yeah. Well, I think for caring to do this, Chris, for all nonprofits, this is a really hard time to get anything out there, and to be able to do it during this time period without seeming selfish or self-interested during a pandemic, to be asking for funding, but just to be able to discuss your mission in this arena and develop a different conversation than, everybody's dying, which they are, and our hearts can really go out to this situation. But we're trying to get ourselves out there to help others. We're helping them every day, and how do we do that if we can't talk about it?
I know it puts all of the nonprofits and all the nonprofits we're speaking with in a precarious situation, which is you are already doing good. You are already helping people. You are serving a need that's unfulfilled, and everything is just stopped. And you're right. It's an unprecedented moment in our history, and there are a lot of people dying and sick. And it's not to be taken lightly, but neither is your mission. So I'm glad we're able to talk about the mission. Let me ask you this: can you leave our viewers with some kind of message of hope or optimism or inspiration?
We'll get through this.
Yeah. We're a great country. We've many things hit this country. I have to say that 9/11, 18 years of war, 20 years of war almost now. People don't realize it, but we're out there, men and women are out there putting their life on the line every day, every night. And now we're seeing it on the front lines here in the hospitals and our first responders. So we'll get through this.
Well, and I had put a post out the other day just appreciating our teachers and our truck drivers and our medical staff. And I think, in so many ways, we were all going so incredibly fast that this has forced us to stop and do a reset and really kind of take inventory of
ReGroup.
everyone around us it's forcing everyone to regroup.
Exactly.
But really, the parents that are now home trying to teach their kids and, doing homeschooling, realizing, wow, these teachers really are putting in long, hard days with, I've only got 2 and they're dealing with, 20 to 30. And so I think maybe it's giving us a time to really kind of sit back and reflect and appreciate each other more, and appreciate how easy it was to go to the grocery store and get anything you wanted, and to pay attention, to stop and take pause and pay attention of our elderly neighbors that might need help. And I see young people starting to run errands for some older people, and so I think in some ways there's positive. You just gotta look for it. And I think it's beautiful. I've actually been quite touched by some of the stories out there.
Well, we did today. I mean, we broke down on the side of the road, and I was pushing my car, and a van of gentlemen got out and were like, "Hey, we'll help you push." And I'm like, I already got it to the side, guys, but I appreciate just the fact that they would get out of the van to help during this event. And it isn't, I don't want to get near you because you might have COVID.
Have cooties.
People are still help.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, both of you. I love your mission. Certainly, I'm a fan and I'm on board. This is Stephanie and Antonio with ReGroup Foundation. I am Chris with Production 4 and Community Arts. Thanks everybody for watching. This is Nonprofit Navigators. We'll have some more episodes coming up. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.